I'm sure a lot of you have gone to interviews and you've been asked one of these next two questions. So tell me more about what you think your key strength is. Or tell me a little bit more about what you think your key development area is, right? Or your key weakness is. And these can be very difficult questions to answer if you haven't prepared adequately for them. So today I'm going to be addressing the key question of what is your key weakness or development area. And in my next video, I'll be addressing how you answer the question, what is your key strength? So stick around because I'll be taking you through why we ask that question and some real tips that are going to help you best prepare for when you are asked these questions. Hey guys, my name is Bohlale Paile. I'm a young talent specialist and really using this platform to help a lot of graduate students, young professionals know how to get corporate ready. In this particular video, as I've said, we're going to be focusing on the question, what are your key weaknesses, right? This question can be asked in so many different ways. We don't just go straight into tell me what your weakness is. It can be asked in questions such as, tell me what your key development area is. Or tell me of a time where you failed at something. Or what area would your current boss say you need to improve on, right? So all of these questions are basically asking the same thing. What is your key development area? So it's so important that as you try and articulate this question, you prepare for it. What I want you to understand is that as a recruiter, what we're looking for is that you are self-aware, right? We want to get a better idea of how you see yourself. What have you learned in your career? What challenges have you faced? We want to know how you'll respond to situations in the workplace. So recruiters ask this so that they can see whether your answers align to the job that you've applied for. So always make sure that as you come into an interview, you've prepared at least two different strengths that you can talk to and give examples about. So firstly, as I've always said, make sure that you've done your research about the company and that you've gone through the job spec thoroughly so that you know exactly what this role entails. Secondly, make sure that you've made a list of some of the key strengths that they require within this particular role so that as you mention a weakness, it's not something that's aligned to a core strength. Next section, I'm going to take you through 3 different ways in which you can best prepare for answering this question. First thing is always prepare an answer for this question. So never deny that you have a weakness, right? Don't be one of those people that sits there and says, I actually have never thought about it. I don't know if I have any weaknesses. That's not what you say, guys. Everyone has some level of a weakness, right? And one thing I want you to be mindful of, a weakness is not a personality trait. So don't make it about a feature of your personality. Rather focus on a particular skill that's required in the job that you know you need some development in. And that's what you need to prepare as what your key weakness is going to be. For example, if you say to me, I am an introvert, right? This is not a skill. So you cannot use something like this as a weakness. This is a personality trait. So you telling me you're an introvert doesn't tell me anything about your ability or inability to effectively do the job. So you need to think to yourself, if being an introvert is a personality trait of mine, what kind of skill is affected by me being an introvert? So instead of saying this, what you could be saying is, I struggle with speaking in public. Right? Now you're speaking to a particular skill. A lot of companies need people who are effective communicators, people who can speak up in meetings, people who can speak at different levels of the organization. And so for you as an introverted person, something that you could struggle with is potentially speaking up in public. So this is what you can use as a weakness of yours and not the fact that you're an introvert. One thing you must always be aware of, never mention a weakness that is actually a core strength and a core necessity for that particular role, right? So if you applying for an accountancy job and you say, well, my core weakness is data analysis, or my core weakness is I really struggle with numbers, that is contradictory to what you're applying to, right? So make sure that your weakness is not something that is required in that particular job. The second thing is that you really need to be honest around what your key weakness is. Pick something that actually is true to what you think you need to develop in as a person. So never use a strength in disguise. And what I mean by this is that a lot of people will use words like, I'm a perfectionist, and so therefore I go over and above to try and make sure that I get things done on time. And sometimes what that does for me is that I overanalyze work and really want to get it down to the T, and sometimes I miss deadlines because of that. So you're trying to use something that actually is a positive in some sense, and you're trying to disguise that as a weakness. That for us just doesn't fly, because we know and we hear it all the time, right? Equally, when you say you're someone that can't say no, right? Or you're someone that works really, really hard to a point of burnout. Don't use that as a weakness, right? Because what you're trying to say and what you're trying to prove by saying that is that I'm a hard worker, right? Which in essence is a positive thing, but you're trying to spin it and make it a weakness. Those things don't count. So always make sure that you are picking something that you know as a core skill of yours that you need to develop on. So always make sure that you are able to articulate a weakness that is true and core to what it is you need to develop, and something that you are aware that needs improvement. And lastly, whatever weakness you've spoken about, make sure that you're ending off giving an example of how you are improving this particular skill. So always make sure that as you articulate what your weakness is, you're also saying, this is how I've started working on it, and these are some of the steps I've taken to make sure that I'm getting better at this particular skill. So if you're someone that struggles with time management, this is how you can go about explaining this as your weakness, but also demonstrating what you're doing to improve it. So you could basically say, I generally struggle to gauge how long it would take me to complete certain tasks, which often means that I take a lot longer than expected to complete some of the smaller tasks, and then I don't have enough time dedicated to the more important projects that I have. And sometimes this has led me to missing some of my deadlines. However, to address this issue, I'm currently completing an online time management course, which has really helped me gain important skills and techniques to improve this. What that does is that it shows that you're willing to take initiative and that you are self-aware of the things that you need to develop in. One of the worst things is that if someone comes into an environment and they can't even see what it is that they need to develop, right? Because it makes it very hard to then convince them that this is actually a development area of yours and you need to make sure that you are working on it. If the individual doesn't see it, then it's very difficult for someone else to be able to portray it. So by being able to identify what a key development area of yours is and being able to show what are the steps that you've taken to try and improve it is a great way to end off the question of what your key weakness is. I really hope through those examples you actually now know how to go about answering the question about tell me about your weakness or tell me about your development area. If you're well prepared for this answer, it's something that you can nail and show a level of self-awareness. So as I said, make sure that you stick around for the next video, which is a part 2 of this series that now is going to be speaking about how you go about answering the question, what are your key strengths?